We did it that way because last year she did 9th grade and we wanted her to follow the 10th graders. So, and because of our program, so that's kind of why that weird split. What do school social workers do? There's a lot of overlap between what school psychs and school social workers do, and there's some distinct responsibilities as well. As a school social worker, we address needs that come into the office, be it a friend upset me today to mental health crisis and everything in between. So we try to meet students where they're at, and we offer students the ability to decide what they need in response to whatever they're experiencing. Some people just need a quiet space for a while so they can reset and get back out into the curriculum. Some people want to process something or may need some ongoing support. Another hat that I wear is truancy. School social workers are responsible for truancy in this district. And in this school, we get involved at the higher levels, the 3rd and up levels for truancy. There's a formal Hennepin County Be at School program that we report to. And then what I think is even more important is trying to meet with students and parents who are struggling with attendance and seeing if we can support and remove barriers for better school attendance. School social workers are also responsible for the McKinney-Vento program, which is a federal law that supports homeless families and youth. And we meet with those students, provide services, arrange transportation, determine eligibility, that sort of thing. Special education, as Carla mentioned, all the support team is involved in special education and doing evaluations, providing interventions, looking at what students need so that they can be successful in school. And the school social worker does the social histories for evaluations. So we're most often working with parents in that regard. I don't know, what am I missing? And we support center-based, our center-based programs. Marcy supports the DCD and the ASD program. I support the EBD program. I shouldn't use that. ASD is autism spectrum disorders. DCD is developmental cognitively delayed students, and EBD is emotional and behavior disorders. So we kind of split who supports those. I don't know. It's probably the bulk of it. Oh, and we also do academic interventions, working with students, check and connect. This year, our school is involved in a very exciting program that the district got a grant for called BAR, Building Assets and Restoring Resiliency. It was started in St. Louis Park. Let's get those two mixed up. Started in St. Louis Park by a social worker, and it is now a program that's across the nation. It's an intensive work with 9th and 10th graders. Right, this year is our rollout year, so we're only doing 9th graders. But we're really excited about it. We've already seeing much earlier intervention, much earlier recognition of student concerns. And the basic premise of the program is there are our teachers who meet weekly as a team to review students and figure out if they're not successful, what do they need. Then there's an additional weekly meeting with additional support staff, and then a final meeting called risk review where support staff and coordinators are involved in figuring out next steps, going deeper if earlier interventions aren't helping. The students also have weekly I-Time, which is a social emotional learning curriculum. The whole idea is that if we surround and support students in 9th grade, that they will have a good, strong foundation that first year and be successful moving forward. And the statistics, I don't remember numbers, but the statistics for the program are very good at reducing suspension rates, reducing failure rates, and so we're very hopeful that we will be able to claim that success as well.
Right, so just to kind of add on to what Nancy said, it was a nice overview of sort of all the things. I have a few different elements to what I do at Armstrong, but it's very similar, tons of overlap. We collaborate all the time. We've decided to go into teams this year in terms of grade level teams for problem solving. So when students are struggling, different students need different things at different times. So some students need intensive or 2 or 3 type services, and some students need less, maybe two or just one. So I work with 10th and 12th grade teams with that, some of the problem solving. You might have heard of MTSS, that's part of that piece. So
would you tell us what the MTSS acronym means?
Right. It's a multi-tiered system of intervention for supports. So multi-tiered systems of support is actually the acronym specifically. But again, that's just trying to figure out who needs what at what time and making sure that we're responding to students' needs with the goal of them not needing those supports and getting back into just tier 1 services, which is regular good instruction. So that's the goal there. A couple other differences the only other things that I do that are different is I'm part of the GSA, so I advise the Gender and Sexuality Alliance at Armstrong. I'm a CPI trainer for the district. I'm a member, as Nancy is too, of the crisis team at Armstrong, and then I also work with the district's crisis team as well. I had to write this down. What do I do? There's a lot. So, that pretty much covers everything. Other than special education, my role is a little different. I tend to do a little bit more assessment with the student directly. So I might do IQ tests, achievement tests. Just generally, the special education tutor does the achievement tests, but we might do observations, interviews, and behavioral rating scales and stuff like that. So that's all part of that special ed eval component at the school level. So that's kind of it.
What role do either of you have in assisting families or students in identifying needs for any of our alternative high school programs?
That's a great question. Yeah. We often tend to do it more by student, kind of case by case. So this year we're looking at students in our grade level teams and doing the problem solving to think about, for example, we have a school still in the building, and it's been a great support. They typically take 50 students, and it's that smaller learning community. It's more supported. There's more teacher contact time for the student, and I think when we're sitting in our grade level teams, we are talking about, okay, the student's behind credits, the large atmosphere at Armstrong isn't working, but we have maybe some evidence that summer schools seem to work for the students. So that might be a good candidate. The student might be a good candidate for a school or the other program that we use is Hy-Vee as well. So that's kind of how we are thinking during those problem solving teams is how do we get the students, in a place where they can feel comfortable we earn those credits to graduate.
I want to repeat the online program. Some students decide to do online, some students do some online, some here in the building. And in addition to our problem solving, because of course we're looking at, we want our students to succeed. We're looking at that in our grade level teams, but we also get questions from students who are seeking something different and parents. And those are decisions that parents and students make, but we provide the information. We can say what we've seen a child be successful at in the past and just kind of help you, help families or students get to the right programming for them. In addition, through truancy action, some students decide that what might be better for them is to go to the North Education Center, which is not an Armstrong program, but they can access that. Anyone can access NEC by going there and enrolling, and also through the ALC Plus program that can be referred through county workers for truancy. So kind of can come from a number of different angles.
The only thing I need to add, Leslie, too, is just that we usually work through our guidance counselor with those decisions as well, because it does involve enrollment. So again, it's teaming.
Right.
Yeah. So that's our other support staff that are a big part of what we do as well. So.
And they're also, that's a good point, they're also making a lot of referrals and talking to students and families about different options when it's not going well or someone's unhappy with the current situation.
It's a good question.
How do students typically access you? Do they come to you directly? Are they referred by a teacher? On their IEP? Is it like all of those things, or?
That question, APA always asks that question. It's a good question. How do you access support staff? And finally, for once, we did sort of think about this a little bit after APA last year about and the ways that we're accessed. Okay, here we go. Email. Students will walk in. Teachers sometimes will refer a student that they're concerned about. They're showing some warning signs or some concerns or big change in behavior. We also, parents directly will call us. Sometimes counselors, after working with a student, are like, I don't know, I'm stuck with a student, I'm struggling. They'll sometimes let us know. I know I'm missing some, Nancy. Any other ways that you get?
Well, sometimes other students bring their friends that they're concerned about, or the friends that I don't know what else to do, and they'll, especially if they've had a positive relationship with someone like that. A lot of students refer students. We kind of sometimes AP in response to a behavior incident if they think somebody needs support.
We're working with our 10th grade health teachers to do a piece on that very thing. We're going to talk a little bit about what do you do if you're concerned about a friend? How do you talk a little bit about confidentiality? Because there's some confusion about confidentiality with that. Like, are you going to tell that I told? And that kind of thing. And we want to protect that mechanism of students coming to us. So we usually say a concerned person let us know. Sometimes that student will figure out who it is, but that's not because we let them know. So those are some of the teaching that we need to do a little bit with students in terms of say something. If you see something, if you're concerned, let us know.
And with the BAR program, so Allie Shaw supports, she's Tim's counterpart. She supports the 9th grade as the school psych. I support the 9th grade as a school social worker, and we are in those weekly meetings. There's 5 different BAR teams. I do 2, I think I do 3. And so there's much quicker access because if something's not working, then the school social worker, the school psych can say, hey, how about if I meet with, hey, how about if I call parents? So that is a new mechanism for access. We should mention too, I don't know, did that answer your question? Oh, yes. You did ask about IEPs. So the district has had varying feelings about support staff being on IEPs, because of course if it's written in the IEP, then you must provide that service, then it's a related service, and it's required. And for a lot of the work that we do, what makes sense is not, I've been on IEPs for hygiene. Well, you don't work with somebody on hygiene for an entire year. But if it's in the IEP, unless they change it and take it off, you're meeting with somebody on hygiene for an entire year. So in the past, we were not on IEPs. That didn't mean we worked with special ed students all the time. They're sort of shifting that, I don't know about for school sites.
It's much for us.
But school social workers, especially for students who are demonstrating behaviors in special ed, they're sort of moving towards that. It has to be tied to a goal. The social worker has to be informed that a team is doing that. Because, I don't know how many IEPs are in this building, but there's no way that I can watch every IEP and build and know if I've been assigned to a student. But so there's some of that on the IEPs, not too much at this point in time. We should mention Carla.
Yeah, Carla. Yes.
And not her. You know about her service.
We know about it.
Carla with a C.
Yeah.
Carla with a C. Carla Seiko Wilson is a school-based therapist here at Armstrong High School. She's amazing. This is her 5th year. I can't remember numbers, but we were hired the same year, so I do know how many years I've been here. So she's in her 5th year here, which I don't know if for those of you who have along maybe know that in the past we've struggled with keeping someone here for a stable amount of time. She's very well received by students. We make referrals all the time. Parents can request a referral. You can do it through us. You can do it directly with her. She's currently not taking any more referrals. She will, but she's full right now.
Are you wondering how we would make a referral? Anyone? I could jump in and say that if I've seen a student 3 times and we're struggling to resolve the problem, or concern or a level of stress or anxiety or some thoughts of depression, that's my trigger for, okay, I'm not a therapist, but we did some problem solving that for whatever reason wasn't effective, maybe. And so what we do is usually interface with the parents and talk. This is sound like something that fits what you're thinking, or is it you're seeing some of the similar types of behaviors, and then we might collectively decide let's do a referral to Carla. So that's just one example of how that decision can be made in a kind of a team with parent involvement too.
I think something that I always make sure parents are aware, she is not an employee of the district. She works out of this building, but she's an employee of People Incorporated. Her confidentiality rules are the same as anyone else in this building. If you're going to hurt yourself, if you're going to hurt someone, or if someone's hurting you, those things are not going to be kept confidential. And in most instances, action of some sort will be taken. However, she does not discuss with us what's discussed in session. Occasionally, a family will decide that they would like reinforcement from the support staff for what they're learning in therapy, and so they can sign a release, and then she can talk to us about treatment goals. So, for instance, if a child is really struggling to be in the classroom because anxiety is so high, and Carla is working with a student on distress tolerance, and she has a certain number of techniques that they've decided work well, we can reinforce that, which they're not in session. So if the student is anxious, we can say, remember, you had that breathing technique that you really felt helped you. Did you try that? So, but in general, there is a conversation, and she never discusses what's personally discussed in session. So that gives some students a lot of comfort, some families a lot of comfort that, just because you're dealing with mental health doesn't mean it impacts what's going on with administration or with the support staff. That's private and confidential.
Are there is there a limit to the number of sessions students can have with Carla?
Well, it's like
Insurance.
sometimes by insurance, but I mean, as a general rule of thumb, it's like most therapists once a week. I don't know that it's too often that she would be seeing them.
Right, but theoretically someone could come once a week for the whole school year, right? It wouldn't
Yes.
be like after 20 sessions
It
depends on the insurance company.
Yeah, and it depends on the diagnosis. So that's a complicated question to answer. Their program does have a sliding fee scale. So if insurance runs out and it's due by the therapist, the parent, and the student that they want to continue, then they can look at that. So.
No, I just wanted to throw out there that we have lots of good parent resource materials from the National Association of School Psychologists. Every once in a while, I'll send Carla some to send out if needed about just if there's things happening in the community regarding violence or there's, I think, there's different reasons why we've sent out just sort of resources to Carla. So if you are in need of any resources or those are just research-based information, we can get that to you usually pretty quickly.
Hey, good morning, everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Erick, Norby. I'm the interim principal here, and I just have a couple things I just wanted to share with you about what's going on in the last month at Armstrong. I mean, there's been a lot going on, but just some things that I think, just to bring everybody up to speed. Student of the Month is a new thing, but it's not a new thing. But here, so we just celebrated it yesterday. And it is just a opportunity to recognize our students, and we always want to, we have some criteria that we send out to staff to nominate them. Any staff can nominate kids, and it's just based on academic progress. It can be academic improvement, it can be behavior improvement, it can be anything. And 4 students per grade per month, so you get a sub card, you get a donut, and you get a picture. And yesterday we took the picture and we tweeted it out yesterday. So also we're sending home an email to all the parents of the kids that just kind of says congratulations if you do. Because you know how kids are, they might tell you and they might not. So we're sending out the email. And they get a certificate too. They get a little certificate. So that might be, yeah, you can read it. I had to kind of crunch it in there, but I wanted to share with you some pictures and some data. What we're calling it, it's called Domain 2, it's the Anderson rubric. And what it is it's a teacher evaluation tool that in the last month, that I'm super proud of that. I told our principals we need to be in the hallways in the classroom. And we had 103 observations, classroom observations in the month of September, all of us together. So you'll see the data in just a second. But what we're looking for is this. We walk in a classroom, I want to see, there's obviously some subcategories A through E. And I'm looking to see what kind of environment are our kids sitting in. And it's also helps with, it's going to go towards our school improvement plan. But it's what I wanted to do because coming in new, not knowing what Armstrong looks like, feels like, acts like, I wanted something simple and that teachers don't have to reinvent the wheel. So just that, you know, is it an atmosphere that shows interaction of respect between student to student, teacher to student, a visitor walking in, establishing a culture for learning, you know, content, the expectation. If you're ever going to classroom, I'll show you. You have champs posters, and it's the expectation for behavior and academics. What should a student be doing at this moment in time? Except, you know, it just kind of goes down. If we have a student problem, how does a teacher redirect a student positively, effectively, quickly? Those are the look for us. So I just wanted.
Question about the colors, is that like the same as the down walking thing?
No.
It's not?
No, and
Because I know you said observation, which is different than the other one is not supposed to, anyways.
yeah, this isn't, and thank you, because that's, that's still good. It's not a evaluative observation. It was anonymous, but it was us collecting data. So the Downey walkthrough is different because you don't collect data.
Okay.
And you don't, you know, send stuff out or.
So you're collecting data, but it's not evaluative.
Right, because it was setting up our baseline data for domain 2. So we did it anonymously, we did it on a Google form, and that collected our data, and we never put a teacher's name on it. So this is what it looks like, is like I said, clear expectations. Like, so as an example, in this room we will be on time, prepared, materials, technology appropriate, be an active participant, respect each other. Simple. I mean, I know we, as adults, we kind of go, what's what you do? Well, some of our students, for whatever reason, sometimes aren't always like that, or aren't following our expectations, and sometimes they haven't been taught that. And that's what I always tell teachers, make sure we teach them and show the model of behavior that we want. Also, just some fun things the teacher had, people's birthday, and on a wall, here's your birthday, just to celebrate it. I know it's kind of elementary, but it's still, kids like to celebrate their birthday. I mean, who doesn't? Well, I don't know. And just to welcome you to feel, that's one of our science rooms. They have a mural on their wall. It's all environmental stuff, animals, flowers, that kind of stuff. And there are chants, and it's just about conversation, help, activity, movement, participation, and success. So that's the acronym, and what it means is on the right, it'll tell you what you should be doing at a certain time. So as an example, because I won't go through all of them, but if you're having a conversation and the teacher says, okay, turn and talk, so what does that look like? So, you know, 0 is you're not talking. But you wouldn't do that on a turn and talk, obviously, but, you know, soft speak, whisper soft speak. The teacher would just go up there and go, we're at a 2 right now for conversation. So we're just kind of talking. And I know, again, and it is kind of elementary, to be honest with you, and we've talked about this as secondary principals, but again, most kids know what you need or what the expectation is in high school, but we're just reaffirming that. That's what we're looking for. I don't know if you can see that, but it just talks about being prepared, being on time, being organized, be an active participant, be willing to take a risk. These are just things that we want to have our students know that that's what we expect from them, that's what we want from them, and understanding what's going on in learning. And just some fun stuff. If you know Jen Hall, I just talked about her because that's Jen's room on the left, and that's a shower curtain. She got it closed online. She told me, I was laughing because I'm a social studies geek. Just so you know, my prior life I was a social studies teacher. So they were, that's in her room, and I think it's fun, and Uncle Sam there, obviously. Okay, and I'll just quickly show you this, and this is the data that we found. And so there it is, 103 responses, which means we had 103 observations. So what we did is we just went in and we looked at each subcategory, so it's 2A through E, 5 subcategories, and what did we see? In a quick snapshot. We're not there for the whole hour, it's a snapshot. So as an example, with this is that for establishing a culture for learning, what does that look like? We had 80% that we thought that we would have walked in a room and looked like we were establishing a culture for learning. And what this is, and these are just the data, this is just the data for it. Managing a classroom procedures is it organized, that kids understand that they come in, sit down, grab a piece of paper, open up their Chromebook, write this down, 83%, 82% for managing student behavior when there is a redirection or a misbehavior, or how does a physical space look? 96%, like it was a nice environment. I found a couple cinder block classrooms on my walk, just like, but it's kind of like a temporary room. So, but that's what kind of knocked it down. So that's just the data we found, and that's what we were just looking at.
You do your next data point.
Good question, and I think it'll be right after MEA. We're doing another one, and what we're doing is we're looking at, it's called Safe and Civil Schools, which goes along with Domain 2. That we have a Safe and Civil Schools program, and we just want to check to see what does it look like. Are our classrooms safe? Are they organized? Are they clean? Real simple things. But an environment for learning.
These are unannounced visits, right?
Yes.
You just drop it.
Yep, just drop in, and I tell teachers, like, we're very upfront about it, that we're going to be there, and we're not there to, unless we see something that's really dangerous, but it's just there. So, only because kids get used to us and being in the classroom, that's a big thing. And for me being new, kids don't know who I am. I mean, I think they do now, most of them, but some don't. And I just want to be in classroom so I'm visible so they can see me. And what did I do here? So here's our school improvement plan, just so you know that this is what we're striving for this year. These are the goals I set. I'm also going to set an MCA data score. I'm working with district on that because I'm looking at the prior testing. Increase our ACT score 10% or 2 points. That's a lot. It's huge. But why not? Let's go for it. I was looking at Armstrong's prior data and tracked the ACT data for the last 10 years. It's been on a little bit of a decline, but I mean just a smidge. But if you go back 10 years, it's dropped 3 points.
Question on that. Is that based only on the all-school date, or is it based on, like, when juniors are taking it all over the place and retaking and taking and retaking?
It's both. It collects data on it if you go and jump around and take the test, or when we do it as a school.
So it does look, they improved their score since they took it here. Do you guys get that data?
Yep.
Okay.
So you're taking the highest score for each student to get to your 21?
So domain 2.
Sure to get that data, because I'd say a lot of students continue to, I mean, to improve
Oh,
their
yeah.
score.
And that automatically comes back to you.
Yep, we get it back as they get it back, but we all, and it goes in their Q file, but we also I get this big sheet in August, and it shows the prior year. That's how I got that data.
Okay.
So this is 18, so.
Yep.
So you'll have everything.
So you don't even have to
test
try,
it.
it comes to you.
Yep. MTSS data domain 2 classroom environment baseline data will establish goals. So that's what I just showed you, that data. And now we're going to say, what are we going to focus in as a staff on classroom environment and culture? And then increase our graduation rate to 90%. And in 2018 was 88.1. So in Armstrong has always been pretty traditionally high looking at the data, but it also has dipped a little bit the past 3 years. So,
Is one of these your key compo for teachers?
yes, this is where they will establish it.
But I mean the school goal, because there's 3 here, isn't it usually just one that has
Yep.
to be met? Which one is it? Or
We haven't decided that yet. We have our professional development day tomorrow, and that's where we're kind of going to start rolling through that.
So in your grad rate goal, are you going to be looking at subcategories with, I mean, you're going to be looking at, but will you have special, more specific goals within your demographics or is it just the overall goal?
That's a great question. Is what we will do is that's something that I've looked at and we're talking about is that as an example for an MCA goal. I have to have an MCA goal. I haven't added that yet, but I'm probably going on the lines of 8% of our African American students are proficient. 8%. That's horrible. And that's across the state. It's across the district. And that's like we can break it down that way. Are we going to establish a goal? That's probably where I'm going. So that won't be part of the graduation rate. It'll be a separate goal because I haven't put the MCA in there, and that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So I broke down our MCA. The hard part here is we only had 200, and I don't know. We had just over 200 kids test the MCA. Doesn't give us a real good data because that's almost half of our kids opt out or don't take it.
The MCA is also only at certain grade levels too.
Yep.
It also
Yep. So that's why it's usually about 400 or 500 kids per school a year, depending on your population. Somebody asked me about our enrollment. I don't know if you can see it. Bottom right number is 1974 is our enrollment as of yesterday at 145. And it breaks it up by grade. So grades, freshmen are at 515, soph 492, juniors 501, seniors 466. Freshman class is the biggest, and that is affecting our bar program. Tonight we have conferences. And I heard there's a tradition. So I hope to see you either tonight or Tuesday, and I know Tuesday. And then professional development again is on the 5th. And then family preview night is the 14th. That's some upcoming things.
And there's tomorrow?
Nope.
Another potential communication item is that if students are currently doing PSEO or want to do PSEO, they have to refill out an application if they're at North Hennepin, which is where the majority of our students are. And the preferred admittance date is November 1st. If you are not admitted as of December 1, you cannot do it for second semester, even if you're doing it first semester.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Don't worry, I looked it up this morning, I think.
Yes, is that. Just so you know, we have ordered countertops to go downstairs in the cafeteria that go along the walls, straight walls, so that it's kind of like they're 11 and a half inch tables, and then there's a trim piece that'll be 12 and a half inches, so they can put their trays on it. They can stand there and talk and eat their food. So I'm trying to get our kids off the floor. It drives me insane. And the other thing is I just ordered 6 high top tables, and it'll look just like this stuff, a little bigger. So we'll have 6 high top tables going down the hallway by the cafeteria for us to sit in. So it's a lot of money. I mean, I was shocked how much 6 tables and 24 chairs cost. That's about $7,000. But we have to start somewhere. So, but we're going to start there. So that's on the way.
So this is kind of a topic of education's great and keeping the classroom safe, but what's being done about the drinking and drugs that happen constantly?
Drinking and drugs like in school during the day.
In the bathrooms, kids can get just about anything.
Well, I mean, when we're notified, we try to pay attention to it, and when we see it, we react and find the culprits, so to speak. We are looking at this, putting in vape and THC detectors in our bathrooms. We have 11 bathrooms in our building, student bathrooms, and we're working with Cooper and with our safety directors. It sounds to me like the last I heard is just over $1,000 per detector. And what it can do is once it senses it, it will trigger a text or an email to whoever, or the people that we want to have that text, and then we can go to that spot that needed. So we try. I mean, it's sneaky.
Is there someone that watches Snapchat and watches all the videos? Because I mean, I can't tell you how many videos I've seen of the kids drinking in the bathrooms.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hard place to monitor. We can't put cameras in there. We can't stand it. But if we just try to. One thing that we've done as a staff, as an admin team, and with our police liaisons, is I've made it pretty much mandatory that we are in the hallways as much as we possibly humanly can at passing time. And my station for this quarter is 2nd floor, social studies area, English area, and I'm right by the bathrooms. So if I see a group of guys going in, or there's females, then I'll call Krista or Lori. I'm not going to one big
They don't
guys.
have to be in a group.
What's that?
So I don't think they have to be in a group to go to the bathroom and vape.
No, of course not. But I'm saying
Right.
things that we know that and we know because there's fights in the bathroom.
Last meeting, Jamie had talked about how we're struggling to get the transcripts out for seniors. Do you know where we are with that? For the kids that are applying to college that have requested high school transcripts?
As far as yesterday, we had every transcript was sent, as far as we know, and we had we're about a week out. It usually takes a 7-day turnaround. If that's a long time, and usually we can get it out 2 or 3 days. And if you don't, let me know or let Jamie know, because they're trying to do that's off at the front thing right now, especially October. Like a lot of our state schools, that it's free app month.
There was an announcement that went through school about the media center being limited to 25 kids within the study halls. And I guess when I look around this space, I think it's probably one of the best spaces that we have at Armstrong. I'm curious as to why we would limit it to 25 kids per
I
study
can
hall.
actually speak to that unless you have.
Go right ahead.
So that was kind of geared towards the study hall students specifically. We always have online PSEO, kids who have an empty ending schedule, kids who have late start or release. So we were expecting them to be about 25, and then 25 additional study hall students. It's really partly because I am the one who's up front, and so if I'm supervising, how many can I reasonably supervise while also dealing with problems, other questions, the other parts of my job. Really kind of basically, when I'm checking students in, if I get to like 55, that's when I'm going to start to say, okay, maybe we're full. We have Abbott in here Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have to make sure we're saving some space. If a teacher wants to come in with a classroom, we have flex kids that might come in a couple times a week occasionally. So we just didn't want to the study halls are really big. There's some study halls with 160, and we can't possibly let all 160 come down during one class period. There's just not, it's just not reasonable to do that. So we had to kind of set a limit. This year, the criteria to let a student in is different than last year. Last year, there was a grade component. That's not a part of it this year. So it's just, they can't have more than 6 unexcused absences or tardies. So it's kind of a lower it's a lower bar for them to come in. And so we just had to pick a number. And that's something that if we find that that's too high, we can reduce it, that's too low. But it was presented to study hall teachers kind of like that, with the assumption that if we said we're letting 50 in, that's not 50 study hall students, that's kind of how we pay total. So
Okay, but PSEO and online students are allowed.
always, and we have to close the study hall sometimes because of stuff that's going on, but they're always welcome to come in here because they have no other place to be really. So.
Okay, thank you.